subscribe, hit the bell so you can get notifications every time I upload a new video, and smash the like button. So what's going on? Hopefully you're doing well. Today I wanted to tap in with you guys because I had watched the video from the other day and I was like, that's what I was trying to get to. So I was kind of in the middle of a conversation with you guys the other day when I was at my office, and I was saying some stuff about the types of methods that are used to kind of either be able to put you in control. And there are many methods, but one of the methods that we were talking about the other day was to incept fear in you. And then we were also addressing, I was talking about idolatry in that video, and I kept saying like it's important to not idolize, it's important to not idolize, but I didn't really go in depth on why that is. And I mean, I talked about the mental and emotional ramifications of if you have like a celebrity that you follow and they pass away. I talked about how that might be traumatic, but I didn't talk about what happens next, right? And that's what's really important about that conversation. So I watched that part of the video and I was like, I needed to add this part in. So I'm like, we got to talk about this today. So welcome to my channel. If you're new here, subscribe. If you're not new here, what's good? Welcome back, bitch. What you been up to, man? What you been doing? What you been doing? I know. I can be serious. Of course I can be serious. When I want to be. Do I want to be? No. Ain't I giving Mary Tyler Moore or something like? Hey Claus, how's it going? Ready for an exciting session? What does that mean? I know that sounded like the fakest laugh in the world, but it wouldn't come out. Like it just wouldn't come out right. What is up? I don't know if you reached out to Shaylee about her problem. I forgot to text her because I think I fell asleep. I was like laying down like right when you when I saw your message, and then I was like falling asleep at the same time. I took a little nap. So let me see here. Let me send her a text now and let her know that I sent your information. Anyway, so we're going to talk about, so it's going to be like a piggyback from the conversation from the other day. So it's gonna be like a piggyback. So I'm doing okay. I will reach out to her in a couple of minutes. Just woke up. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be piggybacking from the conversation from the other day because there's some really important stuff in there that I really didn't talk about that that relates to like the so one of the things that I kept pointing out was one of the methods that they use. And one of the methods that they use obviously is creating fear in you. And they create fear in so many ways. They may like mention something to you, or they might have like a whole bunch of like death content going out online or on the TV. It's just, so many ways in which they do that, but there's a lot of death content. And to be honest with you, some of these things, like for instance, the Sandy Hook thing, 9/11, those have all been under question about whether or not those events were actually like real events that just happened in a natural thing. Those events have been questioned, and people have questioned whether or not those were a part of mass media manipulation. And what they do is, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes you'll go like on Craigslist or on like classifieds ads, and you will notice that they are looking for actors to play this and that, right? Well, there have been times where, well, let's just say that there are certain events like the Sandy Hook event and the 9/11 event where people question whether or not those were actually real situations that occurred. Now, obviously, to the people who are unaware, obviously to them it's a real situation, right? Like you didn't know what was going on. But for people who are orchestrating this stuff, if it's orchestrated, it's not a real event. So it is something that they created in order to create fear. And so the other day, I'm just going to play like a quick clip for you guys. Well, it's not that quick, but let's see. Is this the right one? If I got a motherfucking demon attachment, when they're trying to control is by causing either fear in you, causing like a disruption in your energy, causing you to be frazzled emotionally or whatever, like various different ways. So those people passing away, I want to just say this. First off, there are going to be some people that are really close to you that if they pass away, obviously you are going to be impacted emotionally and stuff like that. But what I want you to do, this is why I've been trying to talk to you guys and kind of the general collective about not idolizing. Okay? This is why idolatry is so important to not idolize. So we were talking about, I was talking about idolization, and then I went into the topic of when these young rappers a few years ago were dropping like flies, and they still continue to have a bunch of stuff with the rappers that are, you know, the rappers just dropping like flies. First off, these are musicians. They make music. They should not be dropping like flies, first of all, okay? The fact that they are lets you know that it is a part of the scheme. And so the other day, I didn't get into what I meant by this when I said, you know, you can't idolize. The reason for that is because it causes trauma. So let's just say you have a 15-year-old kid who listens to a rapper and the rapper dies. That's a traumatic experience. So what then happens there next? The next step of the process for what the people that are doing this do is well, first off, when you have a traumatic event happen to you, that is the best time for mind control to be accepted. We got to understand that these people have been studying. They have been doing science research, scientific research. They have all sorts of, you know, like underground research, evidence of underground research in which they have been using these methods and these tactics for mind control. And they have been using it on a mass scale. So it's not just individual people, a couple people here and a couple people there. Now, when we talk about mass media manipulation, what we're talking about is like the news, the radio, and you know how sometimes there might be something going on, and then when you turn on every news station has the same damn script. That's considered programming, right? The same damn script. Like every news channel got the same damn thing to say. Y'all should have some differences. Ain't no differences because they all act like they found out the information at the very same time. They all got the same script. They all got the same information. Okay. So when you doing something like that, when you see something like that, you must know that that is an orchestrated thing. That thing is orchestrated. It is orchestrated for those people to say these specific things in order for whomever is watching, doesn't matter who you watch and where you watch, and they're going to say the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over again. That's literally programming. And we call that mass media manipulation, right? In which they manipulate you and they manipulate how you feel and the things that you experience based upon the news that you are consuming, right? And so one of the reasons why the other day I was talking about sure that you are not practicing idolatry or something like that or whatever, but you follow them to the point where it's like they can do no wrong, or you follow them so much just like, if anything happens to this person, I'm going to pass out and die. Like, I understand that when for a lot of people, probably that devastation leaves room for programming. Okay. And so that's why it's so important. This is why I talk a lot about your mindset and your mind and not letting things like penetrate so much, because obviously there are going to be things that are going to happen in your life that ain't no way you're going to be able to not have that level of being frazzled. There's going to be some events that are going to happen in your life that you're going to be absolutely frazzled. But that's why you should minimize unnecessary times or situations or things that can traumatize you. Okay, you want to minimize the amount of things that can actually traumatize you, because trauma is a way in which you can be programmed and you can be controlled when you are experiencing trauma and traumatic situations. Okay. Another thing is important. This is why when you're experiencing trauma, you shouldn't make very large decisions. You should not make just like out the blue decisions when you are traumatized, unless it's something like giving yourself some space to go get some fresh air or going for a vacation, or you know what I mean, like going to take a trip or something, which even then be careful, you know, and be careful about the people around you and what they're trying to tell you to do and what they're trying to encourage you to do, because this all can play a part, right? But anyway, the other day I was saying idolatry. One of the reasons why is because when these rappers were dropping like flies, these young kids that were sad about Young Von, Prince Von, or what was that other guy named? The guy with the braids, the Pop Smoke braids, you know what I mean? Like they were traumatized, even though they may have not responded in the way in which you know how trauma looks, right? But that, therefore, it makes it easy for them to be programmed and for them to be manipulated and for them to be controlled mentally and emotionally, okay? And so this is why I talk about these things, especially as it relates to the mind, because we're talking about mass media manipulation here. If you are traumatized, trauma can happen. You can be traumatized by something as simple as when you go to church and the preacher, like, you know how the preacher, they have like they preacher school first off, and in preacher school they teach people how to be a preacher in a specific way that causes you trauma and then allows them to control you. This is something that they don't know and they don't talk about a lot. But you know the cadence, you know the tone and the vocal patterns of a preacher, right? Jesus! Now, brothers and sisters, we're going to pass around the offering plate. Give! Make sure that you give to the Lord. That is the pattern. They literally learn. They go to school to learn that pattern. Now, I know you probably like, well, what does that have to do with the traumatizing? Because if I scream at you, that can cause you trauma. Okay, that can cause you trauma. Okay, and it may not seem like it, but it does. The brain. Look. Some of the things that we might deal with or experience or become accustomed to does not change the brain. Subconsciously, the brain and the way in which they program you is by accessing your subconscious. And this is how the preacher thing works. They can program you because of that subconscious. No matter how much you've been through in your life, right? Consciously, your mind still responds to certain stimuli the same way, regardless to what's going on. So the preacher said, Jesus! Now I'm going to pass this offering plate around. Y'all give to the Lord. This is the trauma. And then they tell you what they want you to do. That's the programming. May the Lord open your pockets. Believe by sending in those donations. Do you see what I'm saying? That is literally how they are taught. They go to school to learn this stuff. But you must know that that is literally a way in which they can traumatize you. The trauma is let me tell you what the Lord said to me now. Open your wallets and put the money on the table. The Lord must ask you to give. Give to the Lord. See what I'm saying? It sounds crazy, but the mind, the subconscious mind responds regardless. So that's one way. One way is by loud noises, loud sounds, like things like gunshots, slamming things. Those things can open, it's like a trauma response. Like automatically you're startled. So what happens next is the programming. Now, next up, we can talk about the rappers dying, right? So the rappers dying, obviously that's going to cause you trauma because you're like, oh my God, my favorite rapper just died. What happens next is the programming, okay? And you may not know. I mean, it might be different things. Sometimes what I'll see is they'll have like a bunch of stuff going on, and then all of a sudden you start seeing church ads and shit like that. Start seeing your favorite fucking influencers talking about, I'm going to church this weekend. Bitch, you ain't, in the 10 years you've been on this channel, you ain't never talked about going to no goddamn church. Now all of a sudden you going to church? And I'm not saying that people can't change, but what I'm saying is if you see it in one place, you'll see it in another place. That's another thing that they do. In order to program you, it has to be in multiple places, okay? So that's how you know too. Like let's see, if I start seeing billboards and shit, people talking about join the church, join the Christ Episcopal Hippalian on 5th, right? And then you start seeing commercials, and then you start seeing Facebook ads talking about come to church, and then you start seeing fucking benches with church shit on it, and then you start seeing your favorite influencers who ain't never talked about being to church talking about church. It's because they completely, like, what do you call it? It's like they what do you call it when they like smash the market with a bunch of the same content? It's like corner the market, right? They corner the market, and the market is you, okay? The market is you and your mind and what you're going to believe. Because the thing about it is that, the church is a system of control. It is. The church, Islam, these religions are systems of control. If you are within these religions, we can control you in these specific ways because we know that you're afraid to go to hell. So we can put heaven and hell above your head. We can sell you heaven while you're living in hell, and we can put you back in line and shape you up, okay, from knowing who you are and using your own internal powers. We can put you in line by telling you you're going to go to hell if you don't listen to what we're talking about. So all religions are a system of control, just period. Just, we can just get that on the table now. It's all of it. All of them are a system of control in some way or another. Okay? And so the other day I was talking about these rappers dropping like flies, and I mentioned that if you got your kids, your kids following these rappers, you need to check on your kids, man. Make sure they're good, because that is one of the ways in which they control your mind is by they cause a traumatic event. The rapper dies, and then they start advertising or marketing some shit that they want to happen. One of the things that they did recently, actually, with the rappers was, see, the thing about our culture is that they want us to kill ourselves. They want us to kill each other, right? So when the rappers was dying, what they would do is something like they would have all the rappers dying or whatever, and then simultaneously they would also have like club shootings, all these little tiny little club shootings around different places. What they're doing is they are causing fear, first off. Damn, now I can't go to the club. Now I can't go to the city because they shooting out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of that is a sense of fear, causing a sense of fear in you. Now you gonna respond. You may respond in multiple, one of several different ways. But one of the ways in which you can respond is you be like, I'm not going outside. I'm staying in a house, right? You stay in a house, and then of course you gonna want to watch TV, or you gonna want to watch your phone or whatever. So then they start cornering the market again with a whole bunch of other bullshit that causes more fear in you. Fear constricts the mind. Fear constricts the brain, and it actually causes the muscles as well. So what that does is that closes you up. So if you're closed up, you ain't about to be manifesting shit but a bunch of bullshit in your life. And there goes the cycle again. So I wanted to kind of come and talk to you guys about that. Mass media manipulation is a real thing. Another way in which they do it is, like, for instance, let's talk about how now I know that Hurricane Helene and stuff like that did have some damage and stuff like that. But there was a hurricane some years back where they were like, oh, this hurricane's gonna do this and that and blah, 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 blah. That motherfucking hurricane came and did nothing. It did absolutely fucking nothing. Nothing. But the news news didn't tell you that. Around the news, you looking at the news and it's like, these bitches gonna die if they don't get out of here, right? But we out here like, my gate didn't even get knocked over. Like, what did you talking about? Like, ain't no wind. Like, it ain't even happening like that. So now, like, my mom literally is like, I ain't coming over to Florida because the hurricanes, right? But I'll be like, Mom, like, come on. Like, right? But something like that, so simple, can keep a mother from visiting her daughter because of the hurricanes, right? And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is, right? Because it impacts our lives and our ability to just move about freely, right? And so I just want you to kind of think about these things. One of the ways in which programming happens, in which mass media manipulation happens and occurs, is when, like I said, one of the telltale signs is when you start seeing them talking, all of a sudden they want to talk about, this church thing, and now all of a sudden they want to accept church. Why does church need an advertising campaign is what I want to know. Because they're trying to sell something. I'm a marketer. I know. Let me tell you something. I got good fucking sales skills. All right. I worked at HSN just to learn how to be a better salesperson. Okay. And my marketing, listen, when I got that training and I started my marketing company, my sales were great. So what I'm trying to tell you is listen to what the fuck I'm trying to say. Why the fuck would they need to advertise church? Unless they trying to sell you something. Let me tell you something. An advertising campaign ain't nothing but sales. All they trying to, any advertising campaign, I don't give a fuck what it is. They trying to sell something to you. They trying to rip you away from your money, or they are trying to get you to believe something, trying to get you to act or respond in some kind of way. And the way in which they use in advertising now is trying to understand how you think so that they can then market things to you and put things in your face that they know you'll be interested in. Y'all ever wonder why do I talk about this thing here and then all of a sudden I'm seeing ads about this shit on the line? Because they paying attention to you that closely. They want to know how to get you to separate, first of all, one, from your money, and two, from you know, I feel like this is definitely about separating you from your money. But I think that there's some other underlying implications that maybe I'm not fully versed on just yet. So I'm not going to speak about it. But I will say they definitely going to separate you from your money. They're trying to separate you from your money. Or they're trying to separate you from yourself. That's what it was. And you may think, how are they trying to separate me from myself, Aqua? Well, there's many ways. That they're trying to get you in the church, which is a system of control, right? They're trying to get you to think that the way that you feel intuitively, don't lean upon your own intuition. You got to lean upon the church of Christ. The Lord says, lean upon the church of Christ. And open your pocketbooks and put your donations, okay? Put your donations in the till. We're gonna send a little bucket around, okay? The ushers are walking down the hall right now to collect your money, okay? Think about what I'm saying. Y'all know I'm not saying no bullshit. I'm saying exactly what the truth is here, okay? I'm telling y'all the truth right now. And a lot of people don't want to hear it like this, right? Because it's like, oh, you know, like, listen, it doesn't matter if we've been taught this shit for 200 years or 300 years. These motherfuckers been lying for 200, 300 years, period. Okay, they've been lying to us for 200, 300, 400, 500 years. Okay. Now, like I said, and the Bible itself, the way in which they interpret it to us is not the way in which we actually need to take it. Because, well, that's where we get into our other stuff, right? Our law of assumptions, our law of attraction, because the universal laws are still the same, right? And honestly, let's just take a look at this, because, you know, somebody asked a similar question to this recently online. I was like, exactly. If these things are true, why does it not then apply to them? Gotta think about this, okay? Gotta think about this. And if you haven't watched the story of Nat Turner, and I'm sorry if I didn't take a look at y'all comments yet, give me a second. I'm gonna take a look at them comments in just a minute. We'll go down and read everything up. But you know, if you haven't learned the story of Nat Turner, go watch it. Just go watch it. Like just go watch it, right? Like, it's in the history. That's why they're trying to ruin the history books. The reality is, the more you open up to yourself, the afraid they get. Because in reality, they know that they have committed some of the worst atrocities against humanity. And they don't want to pay for that. But the reality is, the longer that we keep being blinded by these motherfuckers, the longer we're going to be blind. Make sense? Makes sense. Let me go grab a charger so I can put y'all on the charge. Hold on one second. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me a second. Why am I so impatient? So impatient. Oh my goodness. Get this little thing over here and get y'all charged up. I just don't want y'all to die on me. All right. Now, the thing about it is, obviously, you know, if you are somebody that was brought up in the church, or, you know what I mean, like brought up with religion, that for some of y'all gonna hate when I say these things, and y'all gonna be like, this bitch is crazy and blah blah blah, and she's the devil and all that. You can say what you want. You can say what you want. But I have never been absent of a blessing in my life. I'm serious about that. I have never been without faith in my life. I have never been without the awareness of the Creator in my life. And just because I don't follow the system of religion anymore does not mean that my belief system is, or my faith or my belief is not very strong. It's very strong. My belief is stronger than it's ever been. But it's the belief that I have, the system in what rules or orchestrates that has changed. System of my belief has changed by way of, instead of me looking for an external power to rule me, I recognize my own internal power that has been imbued upon me, that I have been blessed with. And as I learned how to navigate this, this power, I learned how to navigate it because, ultimately that's what we all learn how to do. We learn how to navigate it. If you've recognized it, first off, if you recognize your internal power, you're learning how to navigate it, period. Okay. There's a lot of people who don't even recognize that. They still have to have some external source of God. Okay. They still have to have some form of an external God. And that's okay. I think that, everybody has their path. And everybody has to go down their path on their own and learn their own way. But if you're here on my channel, then you know that what I'm talking about is, you know what I mean? Like, you already awakened to something, and you don't know what. Maybe you don't know what. Maybe you don't know why you come to my channel. Maybe you just come to my channel because I'm silly, but there's a reason why you're here. And I'm always going to drop some knowledge on you. I'm going to drop something on your forehead every so often. You know what I mean? Just hit, hold on, let me tap you right on your forehead right there with a little knowledge here and there. Okay. And this today conversation that we've been talking about is the reason why idolatry is so important to not do. It is because of the way it's an additional way in which they can traumatize you, okay, with that person, with the thing or person that you idolize. Okay. All right, let's take a look at y'all's comments, see if I've missed anything, which I can see I missed a thread of everything. Hey, Fire Spawn, long time no see. How we doing? OMG, let me go back. So, Black Barbie. Oh, thank you, but I ain't no Black Barbie. I was thinking Mary Tyler Moore. What you think? Mary Tyler Moore? That's so funny. Not the old school preaching. Bernie Mac was talking about that. Oh, really? I didn't know. So the community listens more if the person is loud and dramatic. But yeah, it can be verbal abuse if someone's yelling at you. Right. So I think it's misplaced priorities in preacher school. They don't teach for the benefits of the people. They teach for their own benefits. Exactly. Right. But the thing is, why would they do that though? That's the thing that I would want to know. Like, why do y'all do that? Like, what is the purpose of that? And whether it's for your own interest or whatever, that is psychology, first off. Okay, and if they teach this in preacher school, they have studied the psychology of this, so they know the psychology of it and they know why it works. That's the problem, right? Because from the beginning of it, there was no morality in it from the beginning. And that's what we've got to see. From the very beginning, there's been no morality in that whole thing. It has been all for self-interest. Okay? And so you got to pay attention to who you following. What are you paying into, right? Yeah, the churches are basically holy gangsters about the money. They be yelling, the Lord said, give me your money, right? Like, that's so funny. That is so funny. So it's just common that the old school preachers, but I've seen very quiet preachers too, and very relaxing. So people have different preaching styles. People respond to different stuff. Like, I can listen to a loud person, but I can listen. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. There's versatility, basically. There's different personalities of preaching. Right. Well, ultimately, what we're talking about here in this video is how some of the methods that are used to program you, as you know what I mean, to program people, some of the methods that are used to manipulate people, and some of the programs that are used to use your trauma responses to basically get what they want out of you. Okay. Alrighty, so let's go down and see true fire spawn. But I've always seen loud preachers who won't demand your for your money. They really don't care if you give or not. Maybe they care just a bit, but they want to preach the truth. The thing about it though is so it doesn't have to be about just the money part, right? It's about the fact that they are able to cause your brain trauma responses. Now, the thing about it is, at any given time, those preachers, and keep in mind, preachers and the orchestrators of organizations can also be idolized as well. And so that's important too. Remember that preacher who had like a whole bunch of women, a whole bunch of church women spread out on the beach, assed out. Do y'all remember that a few years ago? This preacher, this preacher Had a whole bunch of women at the beach, sprawled out, ass out on the beach. Okay. That's idolatry right there. Right? Like that's what it looks like. Idolatry looks like willing to do all sorts of craziness to suit the benefit of that one person, right? And so it's not just about the money. It's about the money, but it's more it's the greater analogy I'm trying to put, or not the greater analogy, but the greater idea I'm trying to put out there is that you can be controlled, okay, by your trauma responses, okay, by your psychological trauma responses. And idolatry and idolizing kind of has a little bit of psychology in there too. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of got a little psychiatric shit going on. Alrighty, so let's see here. So, but yeah, in general, I don't like yelling. Okay, so hey boo, you look amazing. Thank you, Angeles Carter. How you doing, babe? Um, she's so pretty. Thank you. She reminds me of Disney Raven Simone. Oh, don't say Raven Simone. I think my mom looks more like Raven Simone than me, you know? So I grew up around loud people. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not that. It's more of the pattern. It's not the loudness. It's the pattern. Okay? Because the brain wave responds to that pattern in this specific way. So the brain wave, so first off, and you can look this up in psychology. You can look this up, and I think you might find something like this in like those scientific journals. They do a lot of research, and this is one of the things that comes from psychology, where you shock the brain. That's what I'm saying. So the yell is the shock of the brain. That's the traumatizing of the brain, and then what they say or do next is the program. So that's the pattern. So that's the pattern of programming. The pattern of programming in mass media manipulation is to shock, cause fear, or some sort of shock, basically shock factor, shock value. So the shock value that preachers use, which why do they use that? Why do they use that? Okay. Uh that's the trauma. That's your brain looks at that or sees that as a trauma, a traumatic thing. And therefore, any time your brain is traumatized, the specific barriers that you have to protect yourself from manipulation or things like that is broken down. And then they incept the programming. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's a pattern. Really, all I'm trying to use with the preacher example, not that it's always about money for them, but it's the pattern that they use, which they know that your brain has a psychological response to the way in which preaching is taught to many preachers. Okay. It's not particularly always about the money, but that's just one example. One example is they do their little scream and then they say, put your money in the thing. Right? They say that real nice and soft. But that's the program. That's how they program you, right? That shock value of the yell, and then the quiet part, put the money in the bag, right? But that's how programming and mass media manipulation works. Well, mass media manipulation, they use some other tactics like constantly saying the same thing over and 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 over again. You know how the radio plays that same damn song and you like, bitch, if I hear this song one more time, if I hear this song one more time, that's manipulation. That's mass media manipulation. You don't know how many songs that have been on the radio that they basically programmed you to like that song. Okay, there's a lot of songs. There's a whole genre of rap that was a program. They programmed us to like that. Motherfuckers didn't like this shit when it started. The way that they started rapping, like maybe 5 years ago, 7 years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, we wasn't picking up on that shit to begin with. So they incepted it with a couple of things. First off, they had rappers dropping like flies. Then they put a whole bunch of people on this specific flow, and then they put some of your favorite people on that specific flow, and then it picked up. That nobody was caring, like nobody was buying the shit. There's a lot of artists that come out, they first time they drop a specific song, then nobody fuck with that shit until they put Chris Brown on it, or till they did this, till they did that. That is a part of the marketing efforts, which is also a part of the manipulation. Okay, so all I'm saying is this, that there's different patterns in which they use to control you. This conversation is mostly about mind control. So yeah. Anyway, Indigo Stars, welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of dip into that conversation because I did talk a little bit about the idolatry part of the other day, and I was like, oh shoot, I did not talk about the manipulation or mass media manipulation or the programming of it all. Okay. And these are things that they studied. And of course, now we have Donald Trump, right? Going and deleting all of the history of the studies that they've done. And they've done some crazy, crazy studies. And they have been studying on us, people. Okay. So be careful out there, y'all. Be safe, okay? Well, anyway, if there's no further comments, I think I've caught up with everybody's comments. I want to welcome you, or thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate having this conversation with you guys and you guys tapping in, and putting your, your vibes, your comments, and things of that nature about this topic. Yeah, I'm gonna see you guys next time. Have a good night. So they also have celebrities that promote and sell things that get fans to buy. Exactly. Exactly.